You know, it's so easy to think that history is this complete book, right? That every question has an answer just waiting for us in a library or a quick Google search. But honestly, that's a dangerous illusion. The truth is, our history is more like a rough draft, with entire chapters just torn out. Today, we're going to go exploring through those blank pages, the moments where the story just stops cold, leaving behind these incredible mysteries that still haunt us to this day.
So, here's our roadmap through the gaps in history. We're going to start with this illusion that we know everything. Then we'll meet a prophet who's basically lost in time, witness an entire society just collapse, try to uncover a conqueror's greatest secret, search for a vanished army, and finally try to decipher a message that was sent into the void.
I mean, think about it. We live in this hyper-documented world where it's so easy to feel secure. Every single moment is captured, every fact is just a search away. We kind of assume our collective memory is permanently backed up in the cloud. But is it really? The reality is actually terrifyingly fragile. Our entire grasp of the past comes down to a really simple, kind of brutal filter: what was written down and what managed to survive. If a story was lost before anyone could save it, well, it's just gone, forever. And all we can do is stare into the void that it left behind.
Okay, so our first mystery is all about a man whose ideas literally shaped empires and major world religions, and yet the man himself is a complete historical ghost. Let's talk about the incredible paradox of Zarathustra. And this is where it gets absolutely wild. On one hand, you have these ideas that are so foundational, they arguably influence Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I mean, huge stuff. But on the other hand, the man himself? We don't know when he lived, where he was from. We have pretty much nothing. So, just how big is this gap in our knowledge? Well, some scholars place him around the 7th century BCE. But others argue he could have lived as far back as the 6th millennium BCE. That is a 5,000-year margin of error. It's not just a blank spot in history, it's a canyon.
So how does a figure of this magnitude just get so lost to time? Well, you can kind of thank early historians like Herodotus for part of it. See, these guys were often more like poets than reporters. They wove myth and reality together so tightly that for figures like Zarathustra, the man is now completely inseparable from the legend.
You know, it's one thing to lose the story of one person, but what happens when entire civilizations just get erased? Welcome to the Late Bronze Age collapse, a time when the world didn't just stumble, it hit a hard reset button. Just picture this. It's 1200 BCE, and the Eastern Mediterranean is thriving. You've got powerful, populous empires everywhere: the Hittites, the Mycenaean Greeks, the Babylonians. 50 years later, they're gone. Archeological evidence shows that almost every single major city was violently destroyed, and many were abandoned forever.
So, who was responsible? The prime suspects are this mysterious group we only know as the Sea Peoples. We know they were a diverse bunch, migrated by sea, and were devastatingly good at warfare. But that's about it. They didn't leave any of their own records, not a single post-it note.
And here's the thing, this wasn't just a war. It was a total systems collapse, a perfect storm of famine, disaster, and mass migration. And the really chilling takeaway from all this, even the most advanced civilizations can completely shatter in the blink of an eye. But you know, some pages of history weren't torn out by accident. They were deliberately burned. Our next case involves one of the most powerful men who ever lived, in his decision to erase his own final chapter, the tomb of Genghis Khan.
First, let's just take a second to appreciate the sheer scale of his life's work. Genghis Khan and his successors created the largest contiguous land empire in all of human history. His name was, quite literally, written across the globe in blood and conquest.
And yet, for his final act, this man of unbelievable historical impact chose complete and total anonymity. He demanded a secret burial, to be erased from the physical landscape forever. No giant mausoleum, no monument, nothing. The legend that surrounds his burial is, well, it's absolutely chilling. It's said that to honor his wish, everyone involved in the funeral was systematically eliminated to guard the secret. A brutal, completely silent end for a man whose life was a deafening roar that reshaped the entire world.
So we've gone from one man choosing to vanish to an entire army of 5,000 elite soldiers who vanished completely against their will. This is the enduring mystery of Rome's 9th Legion.
Now, the 9th Legion, Diaspana, had a seriously prestigious history. These weren't just any soldiers. They fought under Julius Caesar himself in the Gallic Wars and the Roman Civil War. These were some of the toughest, most experienced soldiers in the entire empire.
Okay, so they were stationed in Britain. They took a real beating during Boudicca's rebellion but were reinforced. Their last definitive mention comes in the year 108 CE, on a stone tablet recording their work on a fort in York. After that, they are never mentioned in Roman records again. They just disappear.
So what on earth happened to them? Did they march into the mists of Scotland and just never return? Were they maybe transferred east and annihilated by the Parthians? Or during a revolt in Judea? Historians have a lot of theories, but no solid evidence. An entire legion, the pride of Rome, just seemingly vanished without a trace.
All right, let's move on to our final mystery, which I think perfectly illustrates how physical evidence can survive for millennia, while its meaning is completely, totally erased. Welcome to the Nazca Lines of Peru.
This is what's called the Nazca paradox in a nutshell. The physical legacy, these incredible drawings etched into the desert floor, is perfectly preserved for thousands of years by the superstable climate. But the intellectual legacy, the why they did it, is completely gone. The culture that created them vanished without leaving a single written word to explain their masterpiece.
And that's maybe the most mind-bending part of it all. The Nazca people created hundreds of these enormous geoglyphs, animals, plants, geometric shapes that are so large you can only fully appreciate them from the air. They made art they themselves could never properly see. It was like a message aimed directly at the heavens.
So, why? Why do all this? Were these offerings meant to be seen by their gods in the sky? Was it some kind of astronomical map of the stars? A giant calendar to help guide their farming? These are all just theories. Without their own words, we can see the lines, but we can't hear the message.
Ultimately, when you boil it all down, these stories teach us one crucial thing. History isn't just what happened, it's what was saved. They're all reminders of our own fragility, of how easily meaning, knowledge, and entire peoples can be erased by time. It really makes you wonder, what crucial parts of our own story are we failing to save right now? And what will future historians see when they look back at the blank pages we leave behind?